That's certainly true for a guy entering his first season as the head coach in Fayetteville. Very pleased to be joined by Sam Pittman. He's on Twitter at Coach Sam Pittman. Coach, we appreciate a couple of minutes. How are you, sir?
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be here.
Coach,
So great.
it's our pleasure. First-year head coach, toughest division in college football. Your first spring cut short because of the greatest pandemic of our lifetime. What page is that on the how-to coaching manual?
I'm still trying to find it. I'm looking for it. I can't find it yet.
What are you doing day to day right now amid all of this?
Well, we have two coaches, satellite Zoom meetings, one in the morning, one in the evening before we all break. And then we're writing a lot of letters. We're doing a lot of recruiting. We're calling high school coaches. And then we're having our Zoom, Skype meetings with our players Monday through Thursday for half hour. I think they're going to extend that maybe next week to maybe 4 hours a week instead of 2. But then we're doing that, and then we're just making sure that we're staying in touch with our kids. You know, we'd kind of gained their trust in the short period of time we were together before they all broke out of here, and we're trying to maintain that.
You know, it's so interesting, too, because not only is it your first season, but new offensive coordinator, new quarterback. How far behind does that put you not having spring, considering those key components now you don't have to work on?
You know, that's a great question. It's a hard question. You know, it certainly doesn't help us. I think we're a little bit different. You know, the same thing with, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Missouri. They're all kind of in a very same boat as far as that goes, except I don't know if they have a returning. I know Ole Miss and has a returning quarterback, but for us, we were so fortunate to get Feleipe Franks, and the great thing that we have with getting him is we have experience. You know, he started for two and a half seasons there at Florida, so that's going to help us. That was a big get for us because obviously we played 5 last year, and we need to settle in on a quarterback.
Coach, aside from the experience, what was it about Franks that was appealing to you?
Well, one, that he had done it before and done it at a high level. And, obviously he has a cannon for an arm. And he's 6'5". He brought a lot of things that we didn't have in our program. And then he's pretty he can run, he's probably 4.7 guy or faster, and so we're excited about him. And we needed someone that had played, especially we had a shoulder injury with KJ Jefferson, and we weren't for sure if he would be able to go through spring ball, and so we were sitting there with only a couple of quarterbacks on the team that would have been able to go through spring ball if we hadn't got Feleipe.
Sam Pittman's with us, Arkansas head football coach. He's on Twitter at Coach Sam Pittman. I want to get into some of your background stuff as well, because I did a deep dive. I fell down a rabbit hole, Coach, going through your career, and, man, there is a ton there that I'd love to discuss with you. But one more on the offense is, in bringing in Kendall Briles, is the idea to have him run the same offense that they ran at Baylor?
Yes. Yeah, the idea is for him to run his offense. I'll have some input there, but he's offensive coordinator. I hired him because I liked what he had done at Baylor and what he was trying to get done at Florida State.
Is that partly, and I mean, as an offensive line coach, the notion might be defer to running the ball ground and pound. Is part of that just what you see the offensive game in college football going to?
I think you're absolutely right, and I think you're going to have. You don't have to, but I think having a dual threat quarterback certainly is going to help you. For the past 2 or 3 years there at Georgia, we had, I think, as good a line as anybody else did, and a lot of times we could turn around and hand that ball off and do whatever we wanted. And then there was times, against great defenses that, we needed more. And a lot of times we got it, sometimes we didn't. But I do think that you're going to have to throw the football to have success in our league, and I think a dual threat quarterback is going to even the box numbers out a little bit more, a little better for you.
Coach, 36 years. And I was amazed. Look at your bio today. 36 years. You've made 17 moves. It's such an interesting lifestyle, right? The lifestyle of a coach, how fluid it can be. At what point in your career did you know that you were ready to be a head coach?
Probably, to be honest with you, I would say whenever I was at Georgia. I have taken jobs now that I got into them, especially early in my career, and I'm going, oh man, am I ready for this? Am I ready for this? But after being with all these different head coaches that I learned from, and then going to Georgia and having success, and was able to see Kirby do it, and Kirby was a new head coach as well, and he would run things by us as well. But I knew that I was ready to be a head coach, and I guess I never really thought about it until the Arkansas thing started coming up. All I really wanted to do is I wanted to be the best offensive line coach in the country, and I'm not positive that I am or was, but I am positive that was a big chore and it was a big job. So, O-line coaches, they pretty much settle in of being O-line coaches because that's about where you're going to be. Not a whole lot of going to coordinators, not hardly any going to head coaches. So if you're a line coach, you're kind of sitting there going, I got to be the best at what I do in order to get raises, get better jobs, whatever that may be.
Yeah. So what's fascinating about that? I'd love your take on this. I don't know if you've considered this at all, but I kind of have this theory that the success that a guy like Ed Orgeron's had is going to influence the coaching profession because what you just mentioned, mostly ADs hire sitting head coaches or coordinators. And here you have a guy that's won a national title that broke the mold there.
I thanked Ed. I saw him at the SEC head coaches meetings, and I walked up to him and thanked him because I think a big part, just like what you just said, of me getting this job was because of the success that he's had, the love he has for Louisiana. And I have that same passion for Arkansas, and I've been, at it a long time. He happened to be a D-line coach and me an offensive line coach, but I think he's helped open up the world to different thinking.
I certainly think it's true. Now, you've coached against LSU. If I have my numbers right, 5 times. With North Carolina, 3 times with Arkansas, and then once 2 seasons ago in Baton Rouge with Georgia. Give me a memory or an observation of playing in Baton Rouge.
That's a hard place to play. Actually, we played them in the SEC championship game as well this year. But so I think we've played them 6.
Mm-hmm.
But LSU's a great venue to play in, passionate fans, SEC football at its very best. And you go in there, you better practice a lot of snap counts and claps and hard counts and all these different things because you better change it up because if you let those defensive ends rear up and come up that field on you, you got problems.
I thought for sure you were going to mention 2015, Coach. I'm glad you did. I was giving you a mulligan on the SEC championship game. I'm glad you didn't default to 2015 because you could have done that real easily.
No, I'm not going to do that. You said 6 in there, and I think I'm 2 and 4. So that's not much bragging rights when you're not at least 500.
Sam Pittman is our guest, Arkansas head coach, for a couple more minutes. He's on Twitter at Coach Sam Pittman. Y'all give him a follow. There's 2 more things I wanted to ask. One, when I look at your resume, starting coaching back in 1984, and all the way to now, there's 1 season where you spent out of coaching in 2002 between the Kansas job and the Northern Illinois job. What was that season like for you, not being on a sideline?
Well, it's hard. I went and I worked spring ball at Northern Iowa. Had Mark Farley's a friend of mine. He had just got that head coaching job, so I worked spring ball and up there. And then during the season, what I did was I traveled around to different games and saw different people and tried to stay in it as involved as I possibly could, and it's just a different deal. You know, it kind of makes you go, man, you don't ever want to retire because you know the love for the game that you have and the passion you have for the kids, and you're going, man, I got to get back in there somehow, and it's stressful, you know, because you're sitting there going, you know, money's going to run out. Where am I going to go? But I tried to stay active and did a pretty good job there. And it wasn't as terrible as I'm trying to make it sound, but it was bad.
It just, you know, I keep drawing the parallels, Coach, because Ed Orgeron, of course, spent 1 year out of coaching as well in between USC and when he came to LSU. It seemed to work out well for him. But he mentioned a lot of the same things of rediscovering a love, realizing he didn't want to retire like he needed to be in it. So it's always interesting hearing a football guy talk about their brief time away from the game when it comes. All right, last thing, Coach. I know this is the topic everyone's talking about, and I don't really expect you to deal with too many hypotheticals, but just do you have a feeling or what kind of conversations are you having with your athletic director about this offseason and what might be in the cards through the summer and then the fall for college football?
I think we've laid out, you know, at first we laid out scenarios for May, laid out for June, laid out for July. You know, if I was going to be totally what I think the 1st of July would be a pretty good time right now to get our kids back. I think that, you know, that's certainly a possibility. I don't know, you know, it could change tomorrow, but if we could get them back by July 1, I think the season we can play a full slate of games and get back. You know, I believe that I know about the safety. I understand the virus, all those things. I also understand that I believe America needs college football, and I know athletic budgets need college football, and not to the expense of safety. I'm not saying that, but I believe that maybe by July 1, somewhere in there, that we'll know a little bit more about all this stuff. Maybe we can get our kids back on campus.
Coach, health and safety to you and your family, your players, your program, and good luck. And I sincerely appreciate a couple of minutes today. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.